Welcome back. I'm Tyler, you're watching Scarfing Scarves, and welcome to the 24th installment of Last Week Lolita News. At the top of the segment, reports as to my untimely demise have been greatly exaggerated. I am in fact still taking in oxygen, and it is with much relief that absolutely nothing happened while I was away in this tranquil, supportive community of faithful fashion enthusiasts, because that would just be, oh, for the love of God, what did you do? Right, that will need an entire episode to itself. We will get to that in a separate video, and for those of you who would rather let their blood pressure reach a PSI that wouldn't puncture a tire, let's talk about some new releases. Angelic Pretty dropped an atomic photo book on the Lolita community with the release of pictures of the upcoming series Misty Sky 2.0, Yes I Own a Bordello, Jewelry No, Fuck the Bird Symphonia, and a decidedly less nauseating version of Queen Chocolate that's palatable if you squint, hide the rest in a rustic red, and pine for the days that chest chocolate wasn't replicated enough to make 50 throw pillows and a 4-panel curtain to hide your shame. Avoid reflective surfaces, and you might just make it to the meetup without being reminded that you sold your soul for some replica fabric and the chance to make your tubby cat kawaii enough to cover up the fact that this animal routinely cleans its arse while making direct eye contact with you. First to blink loses, and either way you end up with their butt in your face. Baby the Stars Shine Bright is too busy having an aneurysm to comment further, and I'm not going to touch this one with a 50-foot pole because I'd rather pretend that people pop out of subterranean tubes rather than contend with the reality that humanity bursts forth like some kind of screaming reminder that birth control is only 99% effective at best. That number shoots down to zilch if you have the self-awareness of a can of beans, and in the interest of less projectile disasters at meetups in general, I would like to urge anyone out there that hot tubs are not pregnancy repellent. Pulling out will screw you every time, and anyone who thinks that special time of the month will keep you from getting an equally special delivery 9 months later should have their head checked before considering the utter miracle that they managed to go their entire life without so much as a Google on how screaming, crying life ruiners are made. Don't make me break out the banana. Moving on to entertainment news, Lolita icon Misako Aoki collaborated with Lolita-based brand Merry Merrily to release their second song collaboration by the name of Planetaric Carnival. The roughly 4-minute experience is a stark visual departure from their previous team effort on Antique. However, the band maintains the same sense of escapism throughout the subtitled lyrics, making for an altogether enjoyable tune. The previous statement of which would roughly sum up the song if it hadn't been for this. Mother of Freya, what is that? I would like to take this opportunity to say that blowing a Smurf is not an aesthetic. Never go full donut, and if you're going to be surrounded by people too busy filleting fairy tales to be fucked with hiring a makeup artist that won't Rule 34 your face, then nothing will depict the audience's feelings more than the vacant, soulless stare of a woman who's gazed into the void and vaguely heard the words, "Fuck it, what if Smurfette was a whore?" Hang in there, girl. Moving on to social news, Facebook group Lolita Humor took a break from putting a bow on it to instead ignite the flames of an argument so contentious it would take an absolute moron to jump in and shove their troll doll dick exactly where it doesn't belong. The previous of which is longhand, for this is the grossest fucking thing I've seen in the last 5 seconds. And hold on to your hats, because of course this isn't the end of things. Why would it be? That would be placing too much faith in the human race in general. See Exhibit A. It all began in Lolita Humor. The post opened with the previously mentioned cohort pic and enough male thirst to merit some social media catharsis, and after scrolling through justifiable discomfort, light humor, and questions as to whether fuckboys speak the English language or if we're just mistaking convenient grunts for sentient human communication, things were rolling smoothly to burn out as a general airing of grievances/sympathies surrounding similar experiences all around. I.e., this happens all too often, everyone was grossed out, and the thread was all set to flame out after everyone felt a little better about having to navigate a sea of unsolicited dicks just to get online. That is, until, quote, proving that men are trash no matter what you're wearing came on scene. Now, is this the most sensitive generalization of men as a group? No. Is it a somewhat cathartic exaggeration in the face of an all-too-common woman's experience shared with an overwhelmingly female group? Yes. No men were harmed in the frilly dress forum, I assure you. Just about anyone could have read that one and go, this girl's indelicately blowing off steam, let's just move along with our day. Anyone except this person. We shall call her Karen, who replied, "Why only men? I've gotten this from women too." Right. Because unsolicited sexual messages from women are an epidemic that shares equal credence as to what is being discussed in this thread, I'm sure Karen thought this through for more than a split second, and this totally wasn't pulled entirely out out of her ass, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Fuck you, Karen. Oops, that one slipped out. Meanwhile, the men are garbage girl doubled down on dudes being dumpster fires, a point on which Karen calls her a sexist, and after being prompted to produce these copious sexually explicit messages from women, it is revealed that she conveniently doesn't have them and is, quote, not really concerned with them anyway. Which is funny considering she brought them up. But again, benefit of the doubt. It is at this point that another commenter brings up a personal instance of sexual harassment, someone whips out #NotJustMen, and Karen returns with the following. I don't consider this to be harassment. However, the split for me is about 30-70 women/men on who sends me explicit messages. First, no one asked you, Karen. Second, so on the one hand splitting hairs, on the other admitting that men are the overwhelming majority of the ones sending these messages. Glad we could agree on something here, but of course this isn't over because Karen then had to spend several paragraphs being a pedantic dickwagon over the definition of harassment of which they were belligerently wrong about. How dare we whip out a word that fits the definition to a T? Why is this so difficult for you to understand, Karen? Are you typing or just hitting your keyboard with a Robin Thicke CD until you get something resembling a sentence? Bill Cosby couldn't have written it better, and it was at that moment that a commenter took what should have been a thread of pedantic bullshit and blew it straight into full-blown frackery. It's definitely rape culture, though. Excuse me. Oh, fuck me! Master of delicacy that she is, Karen responds to that statement with the following. No, it's not rape culture either. This is an individual who has chosen to prowl for booty in the worst way possible. First, the idea that this person will ever type the word booty again is too soon. And second, if they didn't have their head rammed so far up their ass they were pushing on a singularity, they would know that the basic definition of rape culture includes a tolerance of sexual harassment, the definition of which is verbatim, harassment typically of a woman in a workplace or other professional or social situation involving the making of unwanted sexual advances or obscene remarks. And third, I even had the charity to Google the definition for you, Karen. Look at what 2 seconds of typing and an internet connection can do when you're not preoccupied with being a contrarian fuckwit with a #NotAllMen complex and a decidedly unsavory nature that must make you a real hit at parties. Let's break it down. Sending a message on social media? Seems like a social situation. Sending said message with the unsolicited proclamation that you'd stick your dick in them seems like a sexual advance. Or at least it does to the sane and well-adjusted, but not Karen, because she claims this isn't a sexual advance, this is the internet. I'm sorry, my brain had to reboot. This isn't a blowjob, this is the shop vac. This isn't clopper porn, this is the children's section. This isn't a wildly inappropriate sexually explicit textual advance sent to a complete stranger. This is a completely non-existent entity of Freudian frustration because Karen says so. Go home, everybody. The internet must be contained in some alternate dimension outside the basic mortal bounds. Kind of like a parallel universe, but with dick pics and multiple requests for Bob and Vagine. It is at this point that Karen says that calling unsolicited sexual come-ons harassment is hyperbolic at best, says women should just use the block button, and that the reason we punish harassment in reality is because, quote, reality doesn't have block buttons. Please see previous rant about reality apparently ceasing to exist once logged on. Been there, described parallel dickiverse, done that. Unfortunately, people were still trying to reason with her, and in an attempt to get something past what must be an incredible filtration system of pedantry and a dick defense system the likes of which this universe has never seen, a commenter then weighed in that the message was an unsolicited sexual comment, as well as objectification, which both fall under rape culture. True and true. Okay, case closed. Can we please all go home now and scrub our brains clean with the strongest alcohol grocery money can buy? No? Okay then. I suggest you stop watching if you'd like to keep some of your faith in humanity, because Karen replied, and I quote, "Rape culture doesn't exist. It is an invention of feminism as a way of keeping the religion relevant." God damn it, Karen. You can have this back when you stop being an unrepentant dildo. Fast forward through statements that rape culture is just a sociological concept and doesn't exist in reality, demands that women prove it exists by telling her about all the rapes ever, and conjecturing that maybe it happens in Saudi Arabia, she finished with the assurance that the reason for that is it's just part of their retarded religious following that put the system together. It's not often we go from belligerent internalized sexism straight to fuck the Muslims, but woo doggy did we make the effort. So, if you were following, rape culture doesn't exist, except maybe in a Muslim country, mostly because their religion is retarded. Put a bookmark in that, we will come back to it in a sec. Because it is then that someone notices a somewhat peculiar aspect to Karen's profile. That's a weird choice for a profile pic, especially for someone claiming not to be a troll. I wonder what a brief look through the public posts will turn up. Surprise! She doesn't think it's wrong to compare Nazis to Muslims. Confirmed for dumpster fire. Abort mission, boys and girls. This is not a rabbit hole you want to go down without 50 Valium and an exit bag. This explains everything! Nothing says I'm totally a reasonable human being that you can debate with, quite like surprise Nazis. You must have so many friends of comparable moral fiber. This was posted just last month, so not even forever ago. I would like to reiterate that this is public, as in viewable by anyone, for reasons I presume have to do with a childhood donkey kick to the head. Of course, an ex-friend of hers showed up in thread to affirm that the main reason for going non-contact on her had to do with the, quote, Nazi stuff. Karen pitched a bitch fit about the mean Lolita elitists not being her friends because she was an Ida, and the thread was finally nuked from orbit by the mods in an act of mercy, surrounded by the bitter tears of a creature that apparently couldn't tell proper dress sense from the business end of a monkey's ass. Proving that age-old adage true, you know what they say, once an Ida, always a sexist Nazi sympathizer who hates Muslims. I'll need to send my blood alcohol level into fermentation to bring my faith in humanity back from that, because that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for watching Last Week Lolita News, and be sure to tune in next week when we cover the tough topics like, is that you, Metamorphose? Why has God forsaken us? And can we all agree that sending random sexual missives to unsuspecting strangers is gross? Seriously, you don't have to take this 0 to 60. There are steps in between polite greeting and some dude's dick that shouldn't be missed unless you've mutually decided that the best plan of action is just to throw verbal dildos at some woman until something sticks. More on whether or not that would be a fun party game or a sexual harassment suit in the making next time on Last Week Lolita News. This has been Tyler, you've been watching Scarfing Scarves, and I'll catch you next time. Hey there, thanks for watching this week's rendition of this reporter's rampant lack of discretion. I'd like to thank my patrons whose steadfast support has meant more to this show than all the caffeine highs and ensuing heart palpitations combined. And should you like to see this show continue along the lines of our plane of existence, excluding the Dickiverse and including whatever derpy parallel dimensions some head cases think house sociological concepts, head over to patreon.com/lastweeklolitanews for the sake of further deep dives into things that shouldn't be deep dived into at all ever if you want to keep your sanity. Thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you next time on Last Week Lolita News.